Taking part in it will do you nothing but good. When he learned it was merely a martial arts exchange, Fang Chen rolled his eyes. He had thought Liu Qingxian was in danger, which had made him rush all the way here at breakneck speed. He cupped his fist in salute towards Ling Guihai. I am Fang Chen, a disciple of the sovereign peak of Qingyun Sect. Greetings, senior brother Ling. Ling Guihai said thoughtfully, Fang Chen, are you perchance that disciple with no spiritual roots taken under the wing of Sect Master Liu? Junior brother Fang, your name is well known even as far as the 10,000 Swords Sect. I have long heard of you. Though his words were spoken with a smile, the contempt in them was unmistakably obvious. After all that, the person they had been waiting for turned out to be a good for nothing in martial cultivation. All the elite disciples had already arrived at this point. Fang Chen had no interest whatsoever in this kind of occasion. He would rather return to discuss the way of medicine with Qingyun Sect. Senior brother Ling, senior sister Liu, I will not be attending the gathering. I have other matters to attend to. Farewell. Ling Guihai scoffed internally. This one at least has some self-awareness, knowing he is unfit to attend this exchange, gathering and retreating before making a fool of himself. However, Liu Qingxian had already broken through to the Golden Core realm, so she did not care much for a martial exchange for those of the Foundation establishment realm. Her main goal was to have Fang Chen participate and gain benefits from it. Since Fang Chen was determined not to stay, she also lost interest in attending and said, then I shall not attend either. Senior sister will treat you to wine. You have done me an enormous favor. This caught Ling Guihai completely off guard. The whole reason he had organized this martial arts exchange was to show off the influence that came with his 9th rank on the golden roll to Liu Qingxian and win her favor. If Liu Qingxian did not attend, holding the exchange gathering would be completely meaningless. Junior brother Fang, hold on. Ling Guihai had no choice but to stop Fang Chen, saying, what matter could be more important than meeting the favored children of the heavens from various sects? I have invited experts from all over, even including Xia Caoj, the chief disciple of the Qingyun Sect. Upon hearing the name Xia Caoj, Liu Qingxian was startled and said in pleasant surprise, she is also in Qingyun City. Ling Guihai smiled and said, that is correct. She has come to Qingyun City as well, accompanying her master Qingyun Sect. Reverence appeared in Liu Qingxian's eyes as she asked, then will she also be attending this martial arts exchange? Ling Guihai was not certain about this and said, I did extend an invitation, but whether she is willing to come is unknown. After all, someone of Xia Caoj's status may not be willing to attend our gathering. Liu Qingxian thought it over repeatedly and said, Fang Chen, stay and have a look. Xia Caoj is a heavenly pride king ranked 3rd on the golden roll with unmatched strength. Even I would benefit greatly from exchanging martial insights with her. She had always seen Xia Caoj as the figure she chased after. Now that she finally had a chance to meet her, she truly did not want to miss it. Seeing that Fang Chen was still reluctant, Liu Qingxian stamped her foot lightly. Can't you just stay with me? Fang Chen was helpless. He could only sigh and say, fine. Liu Qingxian gave a radiant smile and walked in side by side with Fang Chen, her face full of cheer. Ling Guihai frowned, a sour feeling rising in his chest. The cold and proud Liu Qingxian, who had never given any man the time of day, was actually acting coquettishly towards Fang Chen. How was he any worse than that boy? With a hint of displeasure on his face, he followed behind them back into the restaurant. He had booked the most luxurious private chamber, which was extremely spacious. There was even a small battle stage in the center, suitable for simple sparring and exchanges. The moment Liu Qingxian stepped into the sealed private chamber, the entire room erupted in commotion. It's Liu Qingxian. She actually came. Her aura is indeed that of the Golden Core realm. It appears the rumors are not false. She has successfully broken through to the Golden Core realm. Then it is also no hearsay that she defeated Nangong Ziyuan. What kind of supreme expert is guiding her from behind, allowing her cultivation to advance so by leaps and bounds? Liu Qingxian gave a slight cupped fist salute to the crowd, then unapologetically took the seat of honor. Sit next to me. And not stopping there, she also beckoned Fang Chen to come over and take a seat as well. The heavens favored geniuses present all wore strange expressions. Which sect's elite was this man that he could actually sit side by side with Liu Qingxian? At this moment, Ling Guihai walked in. When he saw Fang Chen seated at the head table, a cold sneer rose in his heart. This was a martial arts exchange gathering. After all, seating order was arranged according to strength, not to be occupied randomly. The spot next to Liu Qingxian was one he had reserved for himself. Did Fang Chen even deserve to sit there? But he concealed the displeasure in his heart and deliberately took the last seat at the very end of the table. This left the nearby martial artists completely flattered. Ling Guihai was not only the peerless genius ranked 9th on the Golden Roll, but also the organizer of this gathering. How could he sit in the last seat? Senior brother Ling, how can you sit here? You ought to take the seat of honor. Ling Guihai put on a deliberately indifferent expression. Let it be, let it be. Let junior brother Fang Chen take my seat. He deliberately called out Fang Chen's name pointedly to draw the crowd's attention. The crowd was stunned the moment they heard the name, Fang Chen, that spirit root, less disciple accepted by the Qingyun Sect leader. Isn't he a good for nothing? Why was he even invited? Not only did he come, he even took senior brother Ling's seat. Does he have no sense of hierarchy and respect? When they learned that the person sitting next to Liu Qingxian was Fang Chen, all those present felt indignant on Ling Guihai's behalf. Fang Chen frowned. It was just a seat. He did not care about it at all, and giving it to Ling Guihai would be no problem at all. But this pretense of being wronged to draw hatred onto him was an extremely despicable tactic. He, who had originally intended to give up the seat, sat firmly in place and said calmly, "If Ling Guihai can sit in this position, I, Fang Chen, am equally qualified to sit here. If Ling Guihai likes sitting in the last seat, then he can stay there comfortably. One should conduct themselves like water. Be gentle when the situation calls for gentleness, and fierce when the situation calls for fierceness. There is no need to be polite to those who harbor ill intentions." Ling Guihai froze immediately. He had thought that after inciting the crowd to humiliate Fang Chen would panic and yield the seat. But Fang Chen did not play by the rules. Not only did he refuse to give up the seat, he even called Ling Guihai out by name, leaving him unsure whether to fly into a rage or hold back his anger for the moment. If he flew into a rage, this man was brought by Liu Qingxian. If he held back, would the dignified 9th ranked genius on the Golden Roll really have to sit in the last seat? Fang Chen's words sent the crowd into a fury. How dare you speak to brother Ling like that? You have no sense of propriety at all. Why don't you move out of the way immediately? Is this a seat you are qualified to take? Fang Chen remained as immovable as a mountain, glanced sidelong at the few people shouting aggressively, and said, "Ling Guihai told me to sit here. Who do you think you are? Are you more senior than Ling Guihai?" The few martial artists were dumbfounded. They knew full well that what Fang Chen said was fallacious, but they could not refute it at all. They could only blame Ling Guihai for harboring malicious intentions, trying to make things difficult for Fang Chen. He never expected that Fang Chen would not follow the expected script, instead leaving Ling Guihai himself caught in a dilemma. Liu Qingxian also finally picked up on the hidden meaning in Ling Guihai's earlier words. Her beautiful face turned cold at once. She slammed the table and said, "I also told Fang Chen to sit here. Neither Ling Guihai nor I have any objections. How dare you lot have issues with this?" The words that had been on the tip of everyone's tongues were immediately swallowed back. Now that Liu Qingxian had stepped forward to intervene, none of them dared to be insensible and push their luck. There were still some people who wanted to stand up for Ling Guihai and vent their resentment on his behalf. The female disciple from the Qingyun Sect, who was seated below Liu Qingxian, was draped in a thin gossamer robe. She walked gracefully over to Ling Guihai's side and sat down, her lithe, graceful body pressing against his arm. She looked at him with seductive, silky eyes and said, "Wherever senior brother Ling sits, I will sit." Ling Guihai smiled slightly. "Fairy Ryu, you flatter me too much." The other martial artists suddenly came to their senses and secretly cursed themselves for being foolish. This was the perfect opportunity to ingratiate themselves with Ling Guihai. During the martial arts exchange later, if Ling Guihai was in a good mood and casually gave them a pointer or two on a technique, it would be worth more than a year or two of arduous solitary cultivation. The crowd rose to their feet one after another. Well said. The honor of a seat is never determined by the position itself, but by the person who occupies it. Senior brother Ling, your seat is the most prestigious of all. Watching them make such a fuss over the seating arrangements, Fang Chen said helplessly, "I told you we shouldn't have come. All this time wasted would be better spent in seclusion for cultivation." Liu Qingxian also frowned, saying, "This is utter chaos. How did a proper martial arts exchange conference turn into this farce?" "Wait a little longer. If Xia Keoj does not come, we will leave too." She could no longer tolerate this unpleasant, sycophantic atmosphere. Ling Guihai, however, thoroughly enjoyed the feeling of being revered as the moon surrounded by stars. He smiled calmly and said, "Junior brother Fang, take my seat and sit however you please." The crowd could not help but laugh in unison. Jai Rai, Yu's beautiful eyes darted around, and she intended to flatter Ling Guihai further. She said, "Senior brother Ling, I have long heard that your swordsmanship is extraordinary, peerless among the 9 sects. I have admired it for ages. Could you demonstrate a few moves to sate my curiosity?" As soon as she spoke, the crowd grew eager. Some wished to curry favor with Ling Guihai, while others genuinely wanted to witness the swordsmanship of this top disciple of the 10,000 Swords Sect. Ling Guihai also intended to show off in front of Liu Qingxian. He had long heard that swordsmanship was Liu Qingxian's primary cultivation path, and the greatest strength of the 10,000 Swords Sect was its unparalleled, exquisite sword techniques. He laughed heartily and said, "Since all of you hold me in such high regard, I shall make a fool of myself for your entertainment." He rose and walked to the small arena in the chamber, his hand wrapped around the hilt of his sword. He drew it abruptly, and a cold light flashed, as if an icy sword ray sliced across the hearts of everyone present, sending an inexplicable chill down their spines. The elites of the various sects had looks of shock in their eyes. The sword Kai was awe-inspiring, and merely drawing the sword carried such imposing momentum. The swordsmanship of the 10,000 Swords Sect was truly no empty boast. Ling Guihai's rank of 9th on the golden list was by no means undeserved. Ling Guihai was secretly pleased. When he glanced at Liu Qingxian and found her watching him with full concentration, his joy grew even greater. He immediately began to perform the set of sword techniques he took the most pride in. Meteor chases the moon, heavenly rainbow pierces the sun, great shattering general star. His swordsmanship was famed for its ferocity, each move more powerful than the last. Sword Kai surged forth, sharp and overwhelming. The granite arena beneath his feet was silently scored with countless sharp sword marks, and the decorative scrolls hanging on the walls crumbled silently like scraps of paper. The onlookers standing in the distance could not help but hold their breath, overcome by a suffocating feeling as if they were adrift in a boundless sea. They feared that if Ling Guihai made a single misstep, the uncontrolled sword Kai would devour them whole. Clang as the long sword returned to its sheath, the sword demonstration came to an end. The crowd's taut nerves finally relaxed, and they began to gasp for air heavily. Jai Rai Yu wiped the sweat off her forehead, her eyes filled with admiration. She patted her soft chest, putting on a timid look. "Senior brother Ling, your swordsmanship was so terrifying. I was so afraid you would accidentally hurt me." The others were still trembling in fear. Calm as a noble gentleman, swift as a crashing thunderclap. That is the perfect description for senior brother Ling. I never understood what being ranked 9th on the golden list meant until now. We Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators can barely even breathe in front of him, let alone fight him. These were not empty flatteries, but words spoken from the bottom of their hearts. Even Fang Chen, who disliked Ling Guihai's character, could not help but praise him inwardly. This fellow did have genuine talent and skill. The set of sword techniques he had just performed was masterfully executed and perfectly fluid, with the power controlled with absolute precision. His rank of 9th on the golden list was indeed well earned. Listening to the praise from all around, Ling Guihai hid his delight. He smiled at Liu Qingxian, who had remained silent all this time, and asked, "Junior sister Liu, do you have any pointers for my set of sword techniques?" Everyone present understood implicitly that Ling Guihai was using the sword demonstration to get closer to Liu Qingxian. They all wore playful expressions, eager to see how Ling Guihai would win the heart of this famous beauty of the 9 sects. To everyone's shock, Liu Qingxian's expression remained indifferent as she spat out 4 simple words, "Not as good as Fang Chen." She admitted that Ling Guihai's swordsmanship was indeed extraordinary, but she had witnessed the thunderous, terrifying sword Kai of Fang Chen's asterisk sword heart meteor imprint asterisk technique, which was still etched deeply in her memory. In comparison, Ling Guihai's swordsmanship was far inferior, completely failing to evoke any sense of awe or wonder in her. The atmosphere in the entire venue plummeted to freezing point instantly. Everyone glanced at each other, doubting their own ears. Ling Guihai's swordsmanship was not as good as Fang Chen's. Was Liu Qingxian not speaking in reverse? Ling Guihai, who had been so eager to show off his skills, felt as if he had been struck by lightning. All his efforts had only earned him such an answer. He looked at Fang Chen involuntarily, his eyes filled with confusion. How could he be inferior to a martial artist with no spiritual roots? To put it bluntly, that man was nothing but a martial arts waste. A thick, burning sense of unwillingness welled up in his chest. Ling Guihai's face was taut as he spoke. "Is that so? It turns out junior brother Fang's swordsmanship is so extraordinary. Would junior brother Fang be willing to give a demonstration so that I may understand what it means to say, 'I am not Fang Chen's equal'?" Fang Chen glared irritably at Liu Qingxian and muttered in a low voice, "Would you drop dead if you didn't mention me?" A glint of cunning flashed in Liu Qingxian's eyes as she retorted, "Cut the crap. Are you going to accept the challenge or not?" She knew full well that naming Fang Chen would inevitably make him the target of public hostility, but she did it on purpose. She even uttered that cutting line, "He is not Fang Chen's equal." After all, every last one of them had looked down on Fang Chen and slandered him viciously. He deserved to put on a proper show and slap all of them across the face hard. But given Fang Chen's laid-back, unconcerned temperament, he would never have cared about such matters if he wasn't forced into the spotlight. That was the whole point of her little scheme. Fang Chen was speechless. He truly had no interest in putting on a public performance, so he cupped his fist in salute to Ling Guihai and said, "My swordsmanship is merely average. I dare not make a fool of myself in front of an outstanding disciple of the 10,000 Swords Sect. Please pay senior sister Liu's words no mind." But how could Ling Guihai let this go so easily? Liu Qingxian's words had left him utterly humiliated in public. If Fang Chen didn't make a move, how would he salvage his reputation? "Junior brother Fang, it matters not if you refuse to give me face, but do you intend to throw away the face of the Azure Cloud sect as well?" Ling Guihai asked, his face dark with displeasure. "The proud geniuses of every sect are gathered here, each representing their sect's honor. If you cower and refuse to fight, it is the Azure Cloud sect that will lose face." What audacity! He clearly only wanted to redeem his own pride, yet he dared to drag the entire sect into it. With things pushed to this point, Fang Chen had no choice but to comply. He bit the bullet and said, "There is no need for a duel. My cultivation is far too shallow. I will simply give a demonstration of my swordsmanship." Naturally, what Ling Guihai wanted most was to beat Fang Chen to a pulp to showcase his absolute strength, but that would be an unrighteous victory. After all, he was at the Golden Core realm, while Fang Chen was only at the Foundation Establishment realm. Letting him demonstrate his swordsmanship would be sufficient. Everyone present was the cream of the crop from their respective sects, with impeccable judgment. They would be able to tell the quality of the swordsmanship at a single glance. Ling Guihai said, "Then please proceed." Left with no other option, Fang Chen was forced to play along. He stepped onto the arena, drew his black sword casually, and held it loosely in his hand. Since this was just a performance, he would only show a small fraction of his skill. There was no need to go all out. This stance immediately drew a great deal of skepticism. He didn't have even a shred of imposing aura when drawing his sword. How could his swordsmanship possibly be better than Ling Guihai's? He didn't look like a swordsman at all, no matter how you looked at him. Earlier, the moment Ling Guihai drew his sword from its sheath, he had already achieved the state of unity between man and sword. "Jai Rai," you pressed her red lips together, disdain shining in her eyes as she mocked. "Everyone had better be careful. If he can't even hold onto his sword and it goes flying, it could be very dangerous, you know." At these words, the crowd burst into laughter. A flicker of contempt crossed Ling Guihai's face as well. Someone like this actually deserved to be compared to him in swordsmanship. The peals of laughter were suddenly swallowed by a sharp cracking sound. Fang Chen had already begun to display his swordsmanship, the light-splitting sword strike. Sword Kai burst forth from his body, slamming into the air ahead and releasing rolling peals of thunder. The private room was exceptionally well sealed, so the rumbles of thunder echoed endlessly, stacking upon each other and growing ever more deafening, drowning out all laughter in an instant. The crowd was so shocked that their faces froze. What had just happened? What had made that deafening noise? Was it a special property of that sword, or was it Fang Chen's swordsmanship? While they were still stunned and confused, Fang Chen unleashed his second strike, sun rising over the vast sea. This time they saw it clearly, a tyrannical burst of Sword Kai, carrying the boundless majesty of an azure dragon surging out from the depths of the ocean, tore through the air before him. The exploding Sword Kai boomed like thunder, leaving their ears ringing. The decorations hanging on the walls of the room were shaken loose and fell to the floor one after another. Even those seated on the ground felt the floor trembling, sending waves of numbness through their entire bodies. The crowd cried out in shock, "This is swordsmanship. What kind of swordsmanship is this? How can its power be so terrifying?" Immediately after, he unleashed his third sword technique, stars falling from heaven and earth. An even more terrifying, unparalleled burst of Sword Kai, far stronger than the previous two strikes, roared forth. The experienced cultivators present paled drastically and screamed, open the windows now, or we will all be deafened." The few cultivators closest to the windows fumbled wildly to push them open. Just in that moment, an earth-shattering thunderclap exploded. Everyone felt a searing pain in their ears, their entire bodies trembling. The deafening roar had temporarily destroyed their hearing, leaving only a piercing high-pitched whine ringing in their ears. A full 10 breaths passed before the crowd's hearing gradually returned. When they looked around, a large section of tiles had been shaken off the roof, the wall decorations were scattered haphazardly across the floor, and the arena itself was crisscrossed with massive cracks from the impact of the exploding sword kai. In the blink of an eye, the private room had been reduced to a mess. Even this was only because they had opened the windows in time to weaken the force of the thunder blast. If they had not, everyone present would certainly have been injured. They stared at Fang Chen in shock, their faces filled with disbelief. His swordsmanship was not just marginally better than Ling Guihai's, the two were not even in the same league. The Azure Cloud sect actually possessed such a formidable sword technique. Even the strongest sword arts of the 10,000 Swords Sect, which specialized in sword cultivation, might not be this profound. This was unheard of. Was Fang Chen truly that disciple with no spiritual roots? His swordsmanship was so powerful that it could rank among the best across the entire 9 sects continent. If he had sufficient cultivation, using this set of sword techniques to defeat Ling Guihai and claim the 9th spot on the golden roll would be an absolute certainty. After this display, everyone looked at Fang Chen with newfound respect. No one dared to look down on him anymore just because of his label as a disciple with no spiritual roots. Ling Guihai's face was filled with disbelief. This set of sword techniques was far stronger than his own. What shocked him and everyone present even more was that after Fang Chen returned to his seat, Liu Qingxian punched him lightly with her pink fist and complained, "Why didn't you go all out?" The shock that had just begun to fade from the crowd surged back tenfold. That had only been a casual display from Fang Chen. He hadn't even been trying. Remembering how loosely he had held his sword earlier, no one doubted Liu Qingxian's words. Ling Guihai's face turned rather ugly. It turned out what Liu Qingxian had said was true. He truly was not Fang Chen's equal. Jai Rai, you bit her red lip lightly. Her earlier mockery had come back to hit her square in the face like a boomerang, leaving her furious and humiliated. She spoke in a sarcastic, sneering tone. It's just a lucky coincidence that he knows one powerful sword technique. The cultivation world values overall strength. Swordsmanship is only a small part of it, nothing more. The crowd nodded in deep agreement. Even though Fang Chen's swordsmanship was astonishing and far surpassed Ling Guihai's, no one believed Fang Chen's status was higher than Ling Guihai's. The latter had earned his 9th place on the golden roll through his own strength. What about Fang Chen? He was completely unknown, a widely known disciple with no spiritual roots across the 9 sects. When it came to status, he was not even worthy of being compared to Ling Guihai. After the brief shock passed, the crowd went back to fawning over Ling Guihai obsequiously. Liu Qingxian couldn't help but snort in disdain. Such a bunch of opportunistic fools. Wait until Fang Chen's cultivation improves. Let's see what you have to say then. However, she had no confidence in her own words. No matter how much he improved, Fang Chen could not catch up to Ling Guihai's status in the short term. The latter's fame was already solidly established. How could Fang Chen compare? Just at this moment, the tavern waiter from downstairs hurried up in a fluster. Honored guests, may I ask if any of you know a fairy named Xia Keoj? She is looking for someone called. For a moment, he forgot the name the visitor had mentioned. But the crowd in the room erupted into an uproar. Xia Keoj, she had come as invited. In an instant, countless gazes converged sharply on Ling Guihai. Ling Guihai had actually managed to invite Xia Keoj. He truly lived up to his reputation as a golden-ranking powerhouse. Only he possessed the standing to invite a heavenly pride king of Xia Keoj's caliber. Liu Qingxian was also trembling with excitement, her gaze towards Ling Guihai filled with newfound respect. She had never expected Ling Guihai to truly be able to invite Xia Keoj, the peerless heavenly pride daughter she admired most in the world. Sensing the admiration of the crowd, especially the fresh regard from Liu Qingxian, Ling Guihai immediately felt as if he was bathed in a warm spring breeze, every inch of his body thrumming with satisfaction. The displeasure he had felt moments earlier vanished into thin air in an instant. He puffed out his chest and spoke proudly to the waiter. Fairy Xia is my invited guest. Show her in at once. In truth, even he had never expected Xia Keoj to come. When he had gone to visit her, he had not even been granted an audience, merely told to leave the invitation behind. What's more, Xia Keoj was known for her cold, aloof temperament, disdained noisy crowds, and rarely appeared at public events. He had harbored no hopes at all, so her arrival was a wonderful surprise. This was an immense show of face for him. One must know that even golden-ranking powerhouses ranked higher than him had extended invitations and been outright ignored. Then Ling Guihai turned to the crowd and spoke solemnly. All of you know what kind of person Fairy Xia is. For her to grace our small martial arts exchange gathering with her presence is unimaginable honor. We cannot treat her with the slightest disrespect. let us rearrange the seating immediately. As he spoke, he turned to Fang Chen and said with unassailable righteousness, Fang Chen, I would be willing to take the last seat, but surely you would not make Fairy Zia sit in the lowest seat. Well, Fang Chen did not care either way. The only reason he had refused to yield his seat earlier was that Ling Guihai had played dirty to anger him. He had no attachment whatsoever to the so-called head seat, so he stepped aside and vacated the position immediately. Liu Qingxian's lips moved as if to speak, but when she remembered that the guest was Zia Keoj, a heavenly pride king of such caliber that even meeting her once was a tremendous blessing, she saw no reason to upset her over a seating arrangement, and thus did not stop Fang Chen. The seating was thus rearranged. Ling Guihai, Liu Qingxian, and the soon-to-arrive Zia Keoj would take the head seats. The remaining seats were allocated according to cultivation strength. As for Fang Chen, while the sword art he had displayed was indeed formidable, none of those present believed his strength could surpass theirs. After all, they were all powerhouses at the 8th and 9th layers of the Foundation establishment realm. Fang Chen was thus assigned to the very last seat, exactly the seat Ling Guihai had occupied earlier. However, there was no powerhouse like Jai Rai, you willing to sit in the last seat beside him without complaint. This stark contrast filled Ling Guihai with immense satisfaction. This was how things ought to be. No sooner had the seating been finalized than footsteps sounded outside the door. Every person present held their breath. The legendary Zia Keoj had arrived. Ling Guihai commanded, "Rise, prepare to greet her properly." Everyone stood up one after another, except for Fang Chen, who frowned and remained perfectly still. He simply could not abide this sycophantic culture rampant among the elite disciples. They were all of the same generation. They ought to treat each other as equals. Even if the other party was far stronger, a show of respect was sufficient. There was no need for such groveling displays of deference. Ling Guihai was standing directly opposite Fang Chen, so he could hardly miss his unusual behavior. He snapped sharply, "Fang Chen, what do you think you are doing? Stand up at once." The crowd turned to look, also shocked by his casual disregard. "Junior brother Fang, the guest is Zia Keoj, the third, ranked peerless king of the entire 9 sects domain. How can you be so disrespectful? Her presence here is an immense honor bestowed upon us. It is only right that we show her full reverence. Stand up quickly. If you offend her and she leaves in displeasure, you will not be able to bear the consequences." Jai Ryu, who had long disliked Fang Chen, narrowed her eyes and sneered. "Don't tell me you think this is hurting your pride. All of us heavenly pride geniuses are being respectful here. Who do you think you are? Is your face bigger than all of ours put together?" Liu Qingxian frowned. She also felt the group was being overly obsequious. If Zia Keoj had not been the person she had admired for so long, she would never have stood up to greet her either. Seeing how unwilling Fang Chen was, she spoke up in his defense. "Enough. If Zia Keoj truly cared about such pomp and ceremony, she would not live such a reclusive life. Let Fang Chen do as he pleases." Ling Guihai cut her off sharply. "That is out of the question. I went to great pains to invite Zia Keoj. If he angers her into leaving, can Fang Chen take responsibility? Stand up properly right now. If you ruin our good fortune, I will not let you off easily." Seeing the conflict escalate into open hostility, Liu Qingxian began to regret forcing Fang Chen to come. If she had known things would turn out like this, she would have let Fang Chen go about his own business. Now she could only ask Fang Chen to endure a little to avoid drawing unnecessary trouble and hatred onto himself. A hint of apology flashed in her eyes as she said, "Fang Chen, just stand up, that's all. Whether you want to greet her sincerely or not is up to you." Ling Guihai frowned deeply, but time was pressing, and he had no leisure to argue further, for the footsteps were already almost at the door. He snapped impatiently, "Then stand at the back, keep your mouth shut, and don't let Zia Keoj notice you." Seeing the pleading look in Liu Qingxian's eyes, Fang Chen relented. He also did not want to drive away the person Liu Qingxian admired most. He sighed and stood up slowly. With a soft creak, the door was pushed open. The hearts of everyone present almost stopped beating, and all eyes were fixed intently on the entrance. Standing at the door, as if rising head and shoulders above all others, was a woman in a simple white dress. Her shoulder-length hair cascaded loosely down her back. Beneath her delicate willow-leaf brows were eyes as cold and clear as late autumn. Her nose was high and straight, her lips as soft and pink as peach blossoms in April. The smooth, perfectly contoured lines of her cheeks glowed faintly in the sunlight. Even without a touch of makeup, she was breathtakingly stunning. In terms of beauty, she was in no way inferior to Liu Qingxian, whose fame was renowned across the 9 sects. Her figure was equally exquisite, her form beneath the snowy gauze skirt as perfect as a work of art, carved painstakingly by the greatest jade artisan in the world. A fraction thinner, and she would have been gaunt. A fraction fuller, and she would have been bloated. It was utterly flawless. This peerless beauty left everyone in the room stunned. They had all heard her name, but never seen her in person. Only now did they realize that Xia Keoj was an absolutely flawless, peerless beauty of unmatched allure. Adoration shone in Ling Guihai's eyes. He hurriedly bowed in greeting. "I am Ling Guihai. It is an honor to meet you, Fairy Xia." When the assembled crowd recovered their wits, they proceeded to perform solemn, formal salutes, one after another. Only Fang Chen remained standing, unbound by convention, with not a hint of obsequious intent on his face. A faint, barely perceptible flicker of distaste crossed Xia Keoj's brows. Her voice, ethereal and icy, rang out, "Your greetings are received. All of you be seated." Ling Guihai was ecstatic in his heart. The Xia Keoj whom no one else could successfully invite had been brought here by him, Ling Guihai. He spoke at once. "Fairy Xia, please take a seat." He pulled out the chief seat at the very center, inviting Xia Keoj to sit there. Xia Keoj paid him no heed, instead casting her gaze around the room as she spoke. "Might I ask if young Master Fang Chen is present here?" Ling Guihai asked in astonishment. "Fairy Xia, what business do you have with Fang Chen? The two of you are as far apart as the heavens and the earth. You ought to have no connection whatsoever. How could you possibly know each other?" The rest of the crowd were equally astonished, all turning their eyes to Fang Chen. An absurd thought rose unbidden in their minds. Could it be that the person the waiter said Xia Keoj had come to find was not Ling Guihai at all, but Fang Chen? In the very next instant, however, they all dismissed this preposterous notion from their thoughts. Yet the scene that unfolded next completely shattered all their preconceptions. Following the direction of their gazes, Xia Keoj spotted Fang Chen. She moved forward with light, lotus-like steps, a wisp of fragrant breeze trailing in her wake. As she arrived before Fang Chen and bowed deeply, Xia Keoj greets Martial Uncle Fang. Every single person present was turned to stone on the spot. This peerless heavenly pride whom they could never hope to reach, a figure as revered as a female empress of their generation, was actually addressing the spirit-rootless trash they all looked down upon as her martial uncle. Liu Qingxian's eyes widened to their fullest extent, her mind thrown into utter chaos, to the point that she began to doubt her very perception of reality. She knew Fang Chen's background better than anyone else. How could he possibly be connected to Xia Keoj, whom she had admired for so long, and even be addressed with the respectful title of martial uncle by her? She had always thought she knew Fang Chen perfectly, but as she gazed at him now, he looked like a complete stranger. Fang Chen was also momentarily stunned by this address. He quickly realized that this was most likely arranged by Qingyun Sect. He nodded with a faint smile and said, "There is no need for such formalities." Xia Keoj gave a small nod of her slender chin, then sat obediently beside Fang Chen. This caused all the martial artists present to rise to their feet unconsciously. If the heavenly pride, ranked third on the golden roll, was sitting in the lowest seat, how dared they arrogantly remain in the upper positions? This was the perfect embodiment of the saying, "Wherever the strong stand, that is the seat of honor." Ling Guihai stood up awkwardly and said, "Fairy Xia, please take the chief seat." Xia Keoj's voice remained cold and clear. "There is no need. I shall sit with my martial uncle for a while. All of you may act as you please and pay me no mind." Though she said as much, who would dare actually ignore her? Every single one of them was stiff and ill at ease. Fang Chen could not help but chuckle wryly. With the atmosphere like this, there was no way this martial arts exchange could proceed as planned. However, before everyone dispersed, he might as well fulfill Liu Qingxian's long-held wish. He spoke aloud. "Keoj, that young lady over there is Liu Qingxian, a disciple of my Qingyun Sect. She has admired you for a very long time. Would you be willing to give her a few pointers?" Xia Keoj lifted her eyes to look at Liu Qingxian, a faint smile appearing on her icy, jade-like countenance. She rose to her feet and said, "I have heard your name mentioned many times. It is a pleasure to finally meet you. Let us spar a few rounds together." Liu Qingxian was overwhelmed by this unexpected honor. The sudden rush of joy left her flustered and at a loss for what to do. Only with Fang Chen's encouragement did she summon up the courage to step onto the stage and exchange a few moves with this heavenly pride she had admired for so many years. A short while later, the spar came to an end. A look of surprise crossed Xia Keoj's face. "Your skills have both strengths and weaknesses in other aspects, but the technique you cultivate is an earth-tier finger technique, is it not?" Liu Qingxian blushed, suppressing her excitement as she nodded and replied, "Yes, it is called Heavenly Cripple Finger." Xia Keoj sighed in genuine admiration. "At your age, to have comprehended an earth tier cultivation method to such an extent, your comprehension talent far surpasses my own. The Qingyun Sect also possessed an incomplete earth tier cultivation method. She had practiced it arduously for many years just to barely reach the entry level, making her progress no better than Liu Qingxian's. Liu Qingxian was several years younger than her, and had spent far less time on cultivation, which left Xia Keoj unable to hold back her envy. With such talent, it will not be long before you surpass me. Receiving such high praise left Liu Qingxian dizzy with joy. She stumbled over and sat down beside Fang Chen. Her cheeks flushed bright red as she whispered excitedly, "Fang Chen, thank you so much. You have made a dream of mine come true." If there had not been so many people around, she would likely have been so excited that she would have given him a big hug. At that moment, a wave of heavy fragrant breeze drifted over. Jai Ryu, who was clad in gossamer thin robes that left her figure faintly visible to the naked eye, walked over gracefully. She sat down on Fang Chen's other side in a soft, demure posture, leaning half her body against his arm as she spoke with a sweet smile. "Junior Marshal Brother Fang, I have long heard that you are no ordinary person. Sect leader Liu has an exceptional eye for talent, and if she was willing to take a spirit-rootless disciple as her apprentice, that disciple must certainly possess extraordinary merits. Now that I have met you in person, I see that you are a divine talent among your generation. This senior sister dares to extend a warm invitation on behalf of the Qingyun Sect, inviting you to visit our sect for a discussion." As she spoke, she swayed her chest and rubbed herself against Fang Chen's arm. The surrounding martial artists could not help but swallow hard at the sight. "Jai Rai, you was one of the most outstanding disciples of the current generation of the Qingyun Sect, stunningly beautiful, alluring, and with a perfect figure." She had not been this attentive even when she was trying to curry favor with Ling Guihai earlier, yet now she was practically clinging to Fang Chen. Who could help but envy him? Liu Qingxian, on the other hand, was almost driven mad with fury, silently cursing this damned vixen in her heart. To her great relief, before she could drive Jai Rai away, Fang Chen frowned, a faint tremor passing through his body that sent Jai Rai bouncing off him as he said coldly, "I shall pay a visit if the opportunity arises." Fang Chen thought to himself, if this woman had kept up her earlier sarcastic and mocking attitude, I would have thought more highly of her. At least she would have had a firm stance. But this complete reversal of behavior fills me with disgust. I find even a single touch from her repulsive. Xia Keoj frowned slightly. She disliked this foul, chaotic scene just as much as Fang Chen did, so she spoke, "Martial uncle, I still have a cultivation method left to practice. I shall take my leave now." Fang Chen nodded, then suddenly recalled that this was the first time he was meeting this nominal martial nephew, so he ought to present a greeting gift. After a brief moment of thought, he took out a wrapped pouch and handed it over, saying, "This is for you." Xia Keoj had anticipated a greeting gift, so she accepted it with a soft smile. Glancing through a gap in the wrapping, she spotted a fleshy, rounded object and unwrapped it in confusion. As the prized disciple of Qingyun Sect, she had no shortage of experience with rare treasures, and a tinge of delight crossed her face. "This is a demonic beast's stomach sac. It is an exceptional medicinal precursor. Many demonic beasts devour heavenly treasures and earthly rarities, so residual heavenly and earthly essence lingers within their stomachs. Adding a small amount of a beast king's stomach sac during pill refining will greatly boost the efficacy of the resulting medicinal pill." When Xia Keoj took a closer look, a look of stunned delight spread across her usually cold and impassive face. What? The disciples seated in the room were shaken to their cores. A beast king's stomach sac. Every part of a beast king's body is a priceless treasure, and the stomach sac, as a vital organ, is worth more than 10,000 gold. The way they looked at Fang Chen had changed completely. This unassuming, talentless trash without a spirit root was not only Xia Keoj's martial uncle, but also possessed immense wealth, gifting a priceless beast king's stomach sac as casually as breathing. But in the very next moment, they were left even more thunderstruck. Xia Keoj examined it carefully, her delight turning to outright shock. "This is the stomach sac of a white-haired jade crystal beast. That beast carries the bloodline of a demon emperor." She hurriedly tried to hand it back, saying, "Martial uncle, this item is far too precious. I cannot accept it." If it had been an ordinary stomach sac, she would have kept it without hesitation, treating it as a generous gift. But the stomach sac of a white-haired jade crystal beast is worth 100,000 spirit crystals. How could she dare accept such a treasure? Fang Chen waved his hand dismissively, saying, "Take it. This item is most suited to those who walk the path of healing. When you use it, think of it as helping your martial uncle save lives and accumulate merit for me." Only then did Xia Keoj accept it very reluctantly, bowing deeply once more. "Thank you, martial uncle." She had felt no particular sentiment towards this sudden, nominal martial uncle, and had only come to meet him on her master's orders. She never expected that he would gift her such a grand present at their first meeting, leaving an unforgettable impression on her. After Xia Keoj departed, the atmosphere in the private box barely improved. The gazes they fixed on Fang Chen were exceptionally complicated. There was envy, jealousy, and now a clear thread of reverence and awe. Fang Chen, however, had no desire to interact with them any further. He rose to his feet and said, "Senior sister, let us return." Liu Qingxian had already gotten her wish of seeing Xia Keoj, so she nodded in agreement readily. "Hold on, junior brother Fang." Unexpectedly, Ling Guihai called out to stop him. Fang Chen looked over at him and asked, "Does senior brother Ling have any instruction for me?" Ling Guihai spoke with a complex expression. "Junior brother Fang, you truly hide your strength well. You have left this senior brother completely impressed. Now that we know your status, this senior brother wishes to introduce another esteemed person to you, so that our acquaintance will not have been for naught." Fang Chen thought for a moment, then asked, "Which esteemed person?" Ling Guihai said, no small amount of pride in his voice, "Vice President Chen of this auction, Chen Loi Yu." He had no intention of introducing a valued connection at all. He clearly wished to flaunt his own network of contacts and regain some face in front of Fang Chen. As soon as these words left his mouth, the proud heavenly geniuses from the various sects were all shocked. "Senior brother Ling, what is your relationship with this Vice President Chen? If you are merely acquaintances, it is no great matter. There are countless people who know Vice President Chen." Ling Guihai chuckled softly. "What is our relationship? I have to address Chen Loi Yu as..." The crowd was greatly shocked. These two were actually related by blood. Their minds immediately began racing with new schemes and calculations. Jai Ryu, who had failed to curry favor with Fang Chen, turned back to ingratiate herself with Ling Guihai. Her beautiful eyes shone with reverent adoration as she spoke. "Senior brother Ling, you have granted us yet another pleasant surprise. So many of us elites have gathered here for two reasons. First, to obtain the shortcut elixir to break through to the golden core realm as soon as possible, and second, to purchase as many life-saving and battle-ready magical artifacts as we can. If senior brother Ling is willing to lend us a hand, we might even be able to buy the items we desire at a far lower price." The rest of the martial artists nodded in agreement, one after another. "I have no hope of claiming the shortcut elixir. So many people have come for it. How could a person like me ever get a share? But I absolutely must get my hands on some high-grade offensive and defensive magical artifacts. I heard the beast tide has already reached the borders of the 9 sects, and will flood into the 9 sects' territory any day now. No one can escape this catastrophe. The more powerful artifacts you have on hand, the greater your chance of survival." Fang Chen's heart jolted slightly when he heard this. Was the beast tide truly on the verge of arriving? According to Gong Kei, this beast tide was launched by a demon emperor that had lived for hundreds of years. That was a being equivalent to a human cultivator at the nascent soul realm. If it took action personally, every land it passed would be reduced to a wasteland, with all living things wiped out. No wonder this auction had gathered so many heavenly talents from all corners of the realm. Aside from the shortcut elixir, all manner of offensive and defensive magical artifacts were the top priority for everyone present. Ling Guihai was extremely satisfied with everyone's reaction, which restored a great deal of his lost confidence. So what if Fang Chen is Xia Keoj's martial uncle? Can he bring tangible benefits to everyone? It is far better to go through me to get more items at lower prices during the auction. What do you say? Ling Guihai stood with his hands behind his back, full of smug arrogance as he said, "If you want to meet her, I can take you to the auction right now to introduce you to my champion." "There is no need." Fang Chen gave a reply that made his face freeze stiff. He was already very familiar with Chen Luoyu, so there was no need for someone else to introduce them. The idea that knowing Chen Luoyu, you would let one buy auction items at a low price was simply absurdly naive. The two vice presidents kept each other in constant check. Anyone who dared to pull underhanded tricks during the auction would immediately be exposed by the other. Ling Guihai had been snubbed outright, and said in a rather displeased tone, "Are you sure? This is an incredibly valuable, high-level connection that does not come easily." Fang Chen shrugged his shoulders and left without saying a single word. Liu Qingxian hesitated for a moment, wanting to stop Fang Chen. In her view, getting to know Chen Loi, you would indeed be of great benefit to Fang Chen, but she still respected his decision and quickly followed after him. Ling Guihai was left behind, his face dark with rage. "That ungrateful fool. I was offering to introduce him to connections with an important figure like me, and he actually dared to refuse. Unless he does not plan to attend the auction at all. He will definitely regret it so much his intestines turn green." After leaving the Liuxian Tower, Liu Qingxian immediately pulled Fang Chen aside, her face full of confusion as she asked, "What is going on between you and Xiakeoj? Why did she call you marshal?" "Uncle!" Fang Chen could not help but laugh bitterly at the question, and replied, "This must be at divine physician Shengyuan's instruction." Liu Qingxian grew even more confused. Why would divine physician Shengyuan do that? Wouldn't that mean he sees you as his equal? How is that possible? Even my father has to address him as senior when he meets him. Though one was a sect master and the other was the grand elder of the supreme sect, in terms of seniority and reputation, Shengyuan Sheng was far above Liu Wenchen. Asterisk beep 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 asterisk. The communication jade pendant at Liu Qingxian's waist suddenly rang without warning. Her face shifted slightly. "I'm already in the city. Why is father sending me a message?" After she crushed it, surging fluorescent light condensed midair into a line of text. The Grand Elder has left seclusion. The Grand Elder referred to here was naturally the Grand Elder of the Sect Master Peak. He was the high, ranked among all Grand Elders, and was the greatest backer that allowed Liu Wenchen to take the position of Sect Master. Liu Qingxian did not dare to slack off in the slightest. Setting aside Fang Chen's secrets for the moment, she said hastily, "I will come find you later." With that, she hurried off at top speed. Fang Chen was glad for the peace and quiet, and returned to the Medicine Peak, only to be informed that both Shengyuan Sheng and Wen Hongyao had rushed to the Sect Master Peak, and were occupied with urgent matters there. Fang Chen could not help but laugh wryly at the situation. Since that was the case, he could not afford to idle either. The beast tide was imminent, and what dangers they would face in the future was unknown. He had to rapidly increase his own strength, and also help Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling improve their cultivation as well. He made his way to the Heavenly Sword Peak, and after asking around, found Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling, who were diligently cultivating the Sword Heart meteor engraving secret technique in the training grounds. The two were executing their cultivation with practiced, seamless motions. Though a fair number of flaws remained, Fang Chen was still taken aback. Has someone been teaching them? Their progress is astonishingly swift. Just how arduous this technique was could be seen from Liu Qingxian's own cultivation journey. Without his hands-on guidance, one would not even manage to grasp the rudimentary basics in half a year. Yet Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling, relying solely on their own efforts, had matched Liu Qingxian's entire progress in a mere 2 to 3 days. Liu Ruxu spotted Fang Chen, her face lighting up with unbridled joy. She sheathed her sword and darted over, asking, "Husband, what brings you to seek us out?" Fang Chen asked in astonishment, "Your swordsmanship has improved this rapidly." Liu Ruxu jerked her chin toward the trotting Chen Xiling and answered, "She taught me." Chen Xiling's innate aptitude was even a notch lower than Liu Ruxu's. How was it that Chen Xiling was the one instructing Liu Ruxu? Seeing Fang Chen's shocked expression, a great surge of pride welled up in Chen Xiling's chest. She adopted a haughty tone and spoke teasingly, "A scholar parted from you for 3 days deserves to be looked at with entirely new eyes." Fang Chen nearly burst out laughing, twisting ancient allusions so recklessly, was she afraid the ancient sages would rise from their graves. "I will question you about this later. For now, let me help you raise your cultivation realms first." "Didn't we just achieve a breakthrough not long ago?" Liu Ruxu asked in shock. Chen Xiling's eyes also went wide with disbelief. "Even if we ate foundation establishment pills like common beans, we couldn't improve this quickly, could we?" Fang Chen took out a slab of fine meat wrapped in craft paper. Though he had given half to clan leader Lin of Yunyang City, the remaining portion was more than enough for the 3 of them. The dense, surging spiritual energy contained within was sufficient to let all 3 break through an entire cultivation realm. He shook the craft paper package mysteriously. "Your husband has a rare treasure on hand. Let us find a quiet place to divide it." The 2 girls smiled gently, their eyes shining with anticipation. Nothing Fang Chen had ever given them had ever been a mundane, ordinary object. The 3 of them stood chatting and laughing in the training grounds, drawing no small amount of attention from those around them. A refined, handsome young man witnessed this scene, sheathed his sword with a sharp click, and strode over. He cast Fang Chen a sharp, warning glance and demanded angrily, "Who are you?" "A mere Outer Peak disciple, daring to come to Heavenly Sword Peak to flirt with our 2 most esteemed and beautiful female disciples. This is utterly outrageous." Liu Ruxu frowned her delicate willow brows and said, "Senior brother Nai, this is Fang Chen, mine and Xiling's husband." A surge of bitter disgust welled up in Nai Yunzhuo's chest. Such 2 radiant, talented junior sisters were actually the betrothed of this worthless trash. It was nothing short of a blasphemous waste of heavenly gifts. He gave Fang Chen a cold, expressionless nod as a perfunctory, dismissive greeting. Then, right in front of Fang Chen, he extended a warm invitation to Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling, junior sisters, it is mealtime. Let this senior brother treat you to a feast. I have specially prepared spirit dishes infused with spiritual energy for you both, which will greatly help you stabilize your cultivation foundations. Fang Chen let out a cold laugh, inviting his own wives to dine right in front of him. This man was treating him as if he were completely invisible. Fang Chen rejected the offer on the two girls' behalf. I have brought sustenance to share with my two wives. There is no need for senior brother Nai to trouble yourself on their account. Liu Ruxu also rejected him outright, speaking with unmistakable bluntness. Second senior brother, stop wasting your efforts. Xiling and I cannot accept your kindness. This man had been pestering the two girls relentlessly for a long time, leaving them thoroughly fed up and annoyed. Nai Yunjuo's jaw clenched in fury. He could not fathom it. He was the dignified second senior brother of Heavenly Sword Peak, 10,000 times superior to Fang Chen in every conceivable way. Yet these two girls were so hopelessly, unwaveringly devoted to that useless trash. Nai Yunjuo glared coldly at Fang Chen and spoke in a frigid, indifferent tone. Is that so? What food have you brought that could possibly be better than the carefully crafted spirit dishes I have prepared? These two junior sisters are future heavenly prodigies. Can you even afford the heavenly treasures and rare cultivation resources they require? Faced with such unbridled, aggressive provocation, Fang Chen did not hold back. He casually hefted the craft paper package in his hand. He spat out 3 words calmly, his tone icy, better than yours. Nai Yunjuo laughed aloud in sheer, unbridled anger. He had specifically looked into Fang Chen's background beforehand. Though Fang Chen had been formally accepted as the sect master's disciple, he received no favor or attention at all. During the last high-risk demonic beast hunting operation, Liu Qingxian had not even allocated him a single cultivation resource. What precious items could a lowly wretch like that possibly possess? He tucked both hands into his sleeves, adopting a lofty, condescending air, and said, "Let me be perfectly frank. You are not worthy of my 2 junior sisters, for you have nothing of value to offer them. Do not dare come to pester them again in the future." Fang Chen shrugged and said, "I have no issue, so long as my 2 wives have no objections." At these words, Liu Ruxu pinched him in anger and said, "Try daring to abandon us and see." Chen Xiling stared at Nai Yunjuo in exasperation, rubbing her temples as she said, "Second senior brother, you are the one pestering us. Do not do this again in the future. Ruxu and I have been troubled by this for ages." Such piercing words made Nai Yunjuo's face shift. He said, "Junior sister Xiling, every word I speak is the absolute truth. Search your heart. Has he ever given you anything?" Chen Xiling felt a headache coming on. What had Fang Chen given her? Did she even need to search her heart to know? Everything she possessed now, what was not given to her by Fang Chen? To make him give up completely, Chen Xiling simply spoke bluntly, "What my husband has given me, you could never give me in your entire lifetime." Such heart-wrenching words were more than Nai Yunjuo could tolerate. He glared at Fang Chen with fury in his eyes. Sensing the atmosphere turning sour, the female disciple who had been sparring with Nai Yunjuo earlier sighed. She was Nai Yunxi, Nai Yunjuo's elder sister. Back then, the 2 siblings were recruited to Heavenly Sword Peak by Lai Qingfeng together, a story that was widely praised for a time. Both were exceedingly talented. The elder sister, Nai Yunxi in particular, had already reached the 8th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, making her the veritable Grand Senior Sister, while her younger brother, Nai Yunjuo, was at the 7th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, holding the position of Second Senior Brother. Only the Grand Senior Brother ranked above the 2 siblings. What gave Nai Yunxi no end of headaches was that Nai Yunjuo, who had previously devoted himself entirely to cultivation, had been as if he lost his soul ever since Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling arrived. He would dote on them and inquire after their well-being every few days, pestering them endlessly. Even though the 2 women rejected him repeatedly, he never tired of it, hoping to win both of their hearts and enjoy the bliss of having 2 stunning beauties at his side. The moment he saw the 2 women laughing and talking with another man, he immediately abandoned his cultivation to run over and make a fuss. Though she had no desire to get involved in this matter, she had no choice but to step forward. "Calm down, all of you." Nai Yunxi walked over gracefully, an amiable smile on her face, her gentle, water-like voice putting those who heard it at ease. Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling both showed expressions of respect, cupping their fists in unison, Grand Senior Sister. Nai Yunxi glanced at Fang Chen, recalling all the rumors about him that her younger brother had told her, already holding a preconceived bias against him. Now that she saw him in person, she also felt that Fang Chen was not worthy of Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling. By comparison, her own younger brother was far more suited to have these two stunning junior sisters at his side. Since her younger brother held such a deep obsession, she would help him fulfill his wish, so that he could devote himself to cultivation peacefully from then on. Junior brother Fang, welcome to Heavenly Sword Peak. Nai Yunxi spoke with a warm, genial smile on her face. My younger brother is young and impulsive. Do not take his actions to heart. How about this? I will set a table at the dining hall to apologize to you on his behalf. Seeing that this woman was being quite polite, Fang Chen decided not to hold a grudge any longer, cupping his fists and saying, there is no need for such pleasantries, senior sister Nai, Ruxu. Xiling and I will go elsewhere. The fine meat we hold is quite valuable. It is better to eat it in private, so as not to reveal our wealth and draw unwarranted criticism. Nai Yunxi said warmly, how can that do? You are the husband of my two junior sisters, and you rarely visit. If we let you leave just like that, people will gossip about Heavenly Sword Peak. Fang Chen was speechless. Was not the worst gossip about him spread by Heavenly Sword Peak itself? Who was it that concluded he had burned through his potential to advance? Was it not Lai Qingfeng, the peak master of Heavenly Sword Peak? Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling exchanged a glance, both showing a hint of awkwardness. The grand senior sister was being so hospitable. Rejecting her repeatedly would truly hurt her pride. They still had to stay on Heavenly Sword Peak in the future, and they were bound to run into each other often. Fang Chen realized this as well, and could only say helplessly, very well, then we shall trouble senior sister. Nonsense, we are all one family, come along, she led the way ahead. When she passed by Nai Yunjuo, she gave him a meaningful look. Nai Yunjuo understood immediately. His elder sister was helping him seize an opportunity. What opportunity? Naturally, the chance to show off his merits at the dinner table. If he could show that he was far more outstanding than Fang Chen, how could the two women not be swayed? The Heavenly Sword Peak dining hall was packed to the brim with disciples. Nai Yunxi chose the table with the best lighting to sit at, and the surrounding disciples very tactfully made way, clearing up space for them. Nai Yunjuo went to the back kitchen to make arrangements, asking the kitchen staff to bring out the meticulously prepared food he had stored away. These were all mountain delicacies and wild game he had gone to great lengths to buy from all over Qingyun City. Precious treats he was even reluctant to eat himself, costing him several hundred spirit stones. The table was very long. Nai Yunxi glanced at the two women casually, asking, Xiling, have you collected your foundation establishment pill for this month? Chen Xiling's gaze flickered, a hint of guilt crossing her face. Of course I collected it. The foundation establishment pills distributed by the sect were of the lowest grade, but the ones Fang Chen had given her and Liu Ruxu were supreme, grade foundation establishment pills. As soon as they collected the pills issued by the sect, they sold them on the spot, having no desire to consume them at all. Nai Yunxi was unaware of this, and said meaningfully, do not forget to collect them in the future either. Once you reach the foundation establishment realm, resources are extremely important, but the sect can only provide a portion of what you need. If you wish to progress faster and go further on your path, you must obtain more resources from other channels. Otherwise, no matter how good your natural talent is, it will be very difficult for you to achieve great things. Chen Xiling and Liu Ruxu had not yet caught the hidden meaning behind her words, and nodded repeatedly to show they had taken her advice to heart. Fang Chen, however, picked up on the underlying implication. It sounded as if Nai Yunxi was insinuating that he, Fang Chen, could not provide sufficient cultivation resources for the two girls. Nai Yunxi's words followed a deliberate, layered structure, moving from general topics to specific points. She glanced over Chen Xiling and asked, how come you still do not have a proper magical implement? As soon as she finished speaking, she cast a pointed glance at Fang Chen, her meaning unmistakably clear. Fang Chen cannot afford to give you such things. At these words, Chen Xiling cast a resentful sidelong glance at Fang Chen and mumbled, it's not like I'm not waiting for some idiot to make good on his promise. Fang Chen was stunned for a moment. It was only when he spotted the green sword on Liu Ruxu's back that he suddenly recalled, when they first joined the Azure Cloud sect, he had taken the two girls to browse the disciples' stalls, and bought Liu Ruxu a mid-grade magical implement, but since there was nothing suitable for Chen Xiling, he had promised to buy one for her at the next gathering. Later, swamped with various matters, he had completely forgotten about this promise, and he could not help but feel deeply embarrassed. Witnessing this scene, the corner of Nai Yunxi's lips curled up slightly. Sowing discord between them was far easier than she had imagined. However, the very next moment, the smile on Nai Yunxi's lips froze. Fang Chen directly pulled out a pouch of spirit stones and handed it to Chen Xiling, saying, "My apologies. Take this pouch of spirit stones and buy whatever you like." In truth, Chen Xiling had not been angry at all. Had Fang Chen ever given her too few treasures, why would she complain over a mere magical implement? Now that she had received an unexpected pouch of spirit stones, her face was lit up with joy. She opened the pouch and found a full 100 mid-grade spirit stones inside, equivalent to 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. She was so overjoyed that her mouth could not close, exclaiming, "Wow, 1,000 spirit stones! Thank you, husband." Liu Ruxu grew displeased, stretching out her small hand and demanding, "Where is mine?" Fang Chen was both amused and exasperated, and pulled out another pouch to hand to her. These spirit stones had all been looted from Zhu Gangli, a disciple of the giant sect, and he had no use for them anyway. Liu Ruxu took the pouch and looked inside, her pretty face also filled with delight as she said, "Thank you for the 1,000 spirit stones, husband." Na Yunxi was dumbfounded. He had just given away 2,000 spirit stones in the blink of an eye, a sum that she and her younger brother combined might not even possess. No wonder the two girls were so utterly devoted to Fang Chen. It turned out he was not short on cultivation resources at all. It seemed that the only way to outdo Fang Chen was to rely on the spirit cuisine her younger brother had gone to great lengths to acquire. Such treasures could not be bought with money alone, and required extensive connections to obtain. Surely Fang Chen could not produce food even better than spirit cuisine. After waiting for a long time, the spirit cuisine still had not been served. Fang Chen felt this was a blatant waste of time, so he simply took out a parcel wrapped in cowhide right in front of Na Yunxi and said, "Ruxu, Xiling, let's eat something first. When the spirit cuisine arrives later, you can have some more if you still have an appetite." With that, he unwrapped the cowhide, revealing a mass of bloodied meat. Liu Ruxu frowned deeply at the sight and asked, "What is this? Is it edible?" Chen Xiling also felt a hint of revulsion. She had thought it would be some kind of heavenly material or earthly treasure, only to find it was a chunk of raw meat. However, Na Yunxi, who was standing off to the side, widened her eyes drastically and cried out in shock, "Beast King Essence flesh." Blazing fervor flooded Na Yunxi's eyes, and she could not help but say, "This is the finest possible nourishment for cultivators at the Foundation Establishment Realm. It is enough to raise a entire Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators' cultivation base by a full level. Junior brother Fang, could you spare a little for me?" "My apologies." Fang Chen rejected her flatly. He only had enough for the three of them in the first place. What's more, Na Yunxi and her brother were trying to steal his partners away from him. Only a fool would share his precious resources with them. As he spoke, he drew his black sword, cut the Beast King Essence flesh into 3 equal portions, and handed one each to Chen Xiling and Liu Ruxu. Only then did the two girls realize this was an extremely precious, top-tier cultivation resource. Their faces immediately lit up with joy, and they carefully cut off a small piece to put in their mouths. The expected stench of blood did not hit them. On the contrary, the essence flesh gave off a rich, alluring fragrance. It was soft and tender in the mouth, and dissolved into sweet, mellow juice with a single gentle chew, tasting indescribably delicious. Their appetites whetted. They immediately ate the entire portion of essence flesh. The immense spiritual power contained within the flesh immediately nourished their spirit pools, causing the spiritual energy within to surge at a staggering rate. Fang Chen smiled faintly, ate his own portion of essence flesh, then closed his eyes to guide the spiritual energy circulating within his body. The three of them began cultivating right there on the spot, completely unconcerned by Na Yunxi's presence. A short while later, 3 auras of varying intensity rippled out, and all 3 of them broke through their cultivation bottlenecks at the same time. Fang Chen, who had already been at the peak of the 6th layer of the Foundation Establishment Realm, easily shattered his bottleneck and reached the 7th layer of the Foundation Establishment Realm. Liu Ruxu advanced from the peak of the 3rd layer of the Foundation Establishment Realm to the 4th layer of the Foundation Establishment Realm. Chen Xiling also rose a full level, advancing from the 2nd layer of the Foundation Establishment Realm to the 3rd layer of the Foundation Establishment Realm. Na Yunxi was at a complete loss for words at this sight. Breaking through in the Foundation Establishment Realm was notoriously difficult. Even if one took Foundation Establishment pills every single day, it would still take an entire month to advance a single minor realm. Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling had only just broken through their cultivation realm not long ago. Logically, it would take them countless years to advance to the next stage, yet the fine beast meat gifted by Fang Chen had easily elevated their cultivation by an entire tier. She could not help but burn with envy. Na Yunxi could not help but think to herself, how wonderful it would be if a man could also gift me beast king fine meat. Clang, clang, clang. Na Yunjuo carried a platter of exquisitely prepared spirit dishes, striding over with a vibrant, elated bearing, and called out, "The spirit dishes I painstakingly crafted have arrived." Finishing this single meal is equivalent to consuming foundation, establishment elixirs for 5 full days. Junior sister Ruxu, junior sister Siling, do have a taste. This is a sincere token of my regard, you know. Of course, Na Yunjuo did not forget to taunt Fang Chen as well. These are prepared for the 2 junior sisters. You get no share. If you wish to eat any, you will have to earn it with your own strength. Na Yunxi wiped at her face, burning with shame on her younger brother's behalf. That Fang Chen had just eaten beast king fine meat, the most top-tier cultivation ingredient in existence. These spirit dishes, worth a mere few hundred spirit crystals, were no different from refuse next to that divine meat. Even if you offered it to him, he would likely not deign to take a single bite. Yunjuo, how can you speak so rudely? Na Yunxi rushed to smooth over the awkward situation for her younger brother, saying, "If junior brother Fang is willing to eat it, that is already granting you face. These are merely common dishes, not some rare heavenly treasure. Stop acting like a bumpkin who has never seen the world." Na Yunjuo was dumbfounded. These were common dishes. Did his elder sister not know how many spirit crystals he had spent, how many connections he had to source these rare ingredients? And she even claimed Fang Chen eating it would be giving him face. He fumed with rage. "Even if Fang Chen begged to eat it, I would not deign to give him any. Junior sisters, you two please have a taste." Liu Ruxu's stomach was still full from the rich, nourishing fine beast meat she had consumed earlier. She glanced at the platter of assorted spirit dishes, feeling not the slightest flicker of appetite, and said, "I am already full." Chen Siling's mouth still held the sweet, mellow aftertaste of the fine beast meat. She found the spirit dishes before her utterly unappetizing, and said, "I am full too. You may eat it yourself." Na Yunjuo was stunned speechless. These were premium-grade ingredients. How could they have no interest in them whatsoever? "Junior sisters, you will never get another opportunity like this. If you wish to eat such high-quality ingredients again in the future, there will be no second chance." Liu Ruxu was left speechless by his words, while Chen Siling rolled her eyes and muttered under her breath, "Who cares about that garbage?" Na Yunxi, standing nearby, could not bear to listen any longer. If this carried on, her younger brother would lose every last shred of his dignity. She hurriedly explained, "Junior brother Fang brought the 2 junior sisters beast king fine meat. After eating it just now, they each broke through an entire cultivation realm, so they are likely not hungry right now. You can distribute these spirit dishes to the other fellow disciples." Na Yunjuo froze, rooted to the spot. Beast king fine meat broke through an entire realm. He refused to believe it. "Are you joking? Where would this brat even get beast king fine meat, let alone enough to let the 2 junior sisters each break through a realm? Did he even have that kind of capability?" Liu Ruxu's willow eyebrows twitched faintly. Na Yunjuo had repeatedly belittled Fang Chen, and she could tolerate it no longer. She immediately circulated her spiritual power, revealing her 4th layer foundation establishment realm cultivation base. "My apologies, senior sister is not joking with you." Chen Siling also revealed her 3rd layer foundation establishment realm cultivation base, then intimately linked her arm through Fang Chen's, cooing, "Thank you, darling, for helping me break through to the 3rd layer foundation establishment realm. You are the best." Fang Chen was torn between amusement and exasperation, yet he also felt deeply gratified. He clasped both girls' hands and said, "Since none of you have an appetite, let us depart. I will give you pointers on your asterisk sword heart meteor engraving asterisk secret technique. I watched you to it earlier, and there are several flaws in your execution." The 2 girls nodded happily, secretly wishing that Fang Chen would take up permanent residence on Heavenly Sword Peak and spend more time with them. Na Yunjuo's face was twisted with shock. It was actually true. Fang Chen had really gifted them a piece of beast king fine meat. Thinking of how he had smugly treated that platter of spirit dishes as a priceless treasure and showed it off in front of the 2 girls, he could not help but feel his cheeks burn with equal parts shame and rage. Why had Fang Chen not mentioned he had beast king meat earlier? Was he deliberately making a fool out of him? Watching Fang Chen walk away with 1 girl on each arm, under their adoring gazes, Na Yunjuo snorted coldly, "Fang Chen, you are going too far." Fang Chen turned his head to look at him, his face filled with utter confusion. How had he bullied this man? Na Yunxi saw the situation spiraling out of control, and hurriedly blocked her younger brother, saying, "Yunjuo, stand down." But Na Yunjuo paid her no heed. "Do not stop me. Do you think this is some kind of joke? Did Sect Master Liu not teach you to respect senior disciples?" The loud argument immediately drew the attention of every disciple in the dining hall. and all cast curious gazes over. Is senior brother Nai going to teach that brat from Sect Master Peak a lesson? It is long overdue. He came to our Heavenly Sword Peak and parades around with 2 of our female disciples on his arms. Does he think all the male disciples of Heavenly Sword Peak are pushovers? The clamor of jeering comments made Nai Yunjuo even more determined to not let this matter rest. Fang Chen's eyes narrowed slightly. For the sake of ensuring Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling could live in peace on Heavenly Sword Peak in the future, it was time to teach Nai Yunjuo the meaning of knowing his place. What if I refuse to respect you? That was exactly the line Nai Yunjuo had been waiting for. You have quite the backbone, don't you? Then have the courage to spar with me? Nai Yunxi's complexion shifted slightly. Up to this moment, she was convinced her younger brother had already lost. Whether it came to Fang Chen's personal resources or the aid he had offered the 2 young women, her brother could not compete in the slightest. There was almost no chance of him poaching the 2 junior sisters away, and conceding now was the only wise choice. Fighting further would be utterly unprofitable. After all, Fang Chen was the sect master's disciple. If he were injured after coming to Heavenly Sword Peak, there would be no way to justify the incident to the rest of the sect. Yunjuo, stop this foolery at once. Nai Yunxi snapped sharply, come with me. But Nai Yunjuo had already spoken harsh words in public, leaving him trapped with no way to back down. I won't do him any real harm, Nai Yunjuo snarled, yanking his hand out of her grasp. He glowered viciously at Fang Chen. What, you scared? If you're afraid, admit defeat right now and get the hell off Heavenly Sword Peak. You're not welcome here. Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling both glowered at him in unison, their disgust for Nai Yunjuo reaching its boiling point. Nai Yunjuo, Liu Ruxu gritted her silver teeth and said coldly, you are the one who ought to leave. Chen Xiling also stepped in front of Fang Chen to block him, her tone icy and unyielding. If you want to bully my husband, you'll have to step over my dead body first. Though they had immense faith in Fang Chen's strength, Nai Yunjuo was a powerhouse at the 7th layer of the Foundation establishment realm, after all. His combat prowess ranked among the top 30 in the entire sect. How could Fang Chen possibly match him? All of a sudden, the 2 women felt their waists tighten as Fang Chen pulled each of them into an embrace, one on each arm. Holding the 2 beauties close, he smiled faintly and said, I appreciate the sentiment, my dear wives, but your husband has no interest in hiding behind women. He lifted his gaze to Nai Yunjuo. Very well, let us have a friendly spar. The surrounding crowd was utterly shocked. Fang Chen was famously known as the disciple with no spiritual roots, a universally acknowledged good, for nothing when it came to strength. Nai Yunjuo, by contrast, was a prominent rising star in the sect. A spar between the 2 was no different from a ferocious warrior beating a stray dog. How much reckless audacity did Fang Chen have to dare accept the challenge? Was he merely putting on a brave face to avoid losing face in front of the beauties? He was far too young. The sensible move would be to swallow his pride now, then get his revenge once his strength grew sufficiently in the future. Some in the crowd sighed in pity, while others snickered in schadenfreude, eager to watch the good, for nothing get humiliated. Seeing there was no way to stop the situation from escalating, Nai Yunxi could only say, you may spar, but you must fight only to first contact. No severe harm is permitted. A cruel smirk tugged at the corner of Nai Yunjuo's mouth. He had no intention of inflicting serious injury on Fang Chen. He only wanted to humiliate him thoroughly in front of the 2 junior sisters to avenge the slight he had suffered earlier. Fang Chen had no objections either. The group then moved to a designated combat arena. To prevent the situation from getting out of hand, Nai Yunxi dismissed all onlookers, leaving only their small party present. At the same time, Li Qingfeng was personally receiving a disheveled white-haired old man with an unkempt beard and tattered robes. Supreme Elder, why have you returned so unexpectedly? The white-haired old man before him was none other than Qingyun, the Supreme Elder of Heavenly Sword Peak. Unlike other Supreme Elders who stayed behind to guard the sect's critical locations after retiring, he was carefree by nature and wandered the world, having been gone for over a decade. If I waited any longer to come back, I'd have to fish your corpses out of demonic beast dung to bury you, he grumbled bluntly. Qingyun had a fiery temper and was never known for polite speech. Li Qingfeng was long used to his ways, and his expression softened with emotion. We are grateful that the Supreme Elder keeps us disciples and grand. Disciples in your thoughts. Once they arrived at the peak, Qingyun saw how much had changed in his absence, and could not help asking, how is Heavenly Sword Peak faring these days? Li Qingfeng's face colored with shame. This disciple is incompetent. Heavenly Sword Peak now ranks 5th among the 10 peaks of the sect. Back when Qingyun was in charge, Heavenly Sword Peak had consistently ranked among the top 3. It had fallen 2 places since Liu Qingxian took over leadership. Hearing this, Qingyun did not blame him. He clapped Liu Qingxian on the shoulder and said, "This is not your fault. If anyone is to blame, it is me. I have wandered the ends of the earth all these years, unlike the other supreme elders who stay in the sect to protect their respective peaks. The fact that you haven't been pushed down to last place already is quite impressive." Those words struck straight to Liu Qingxian's heart, and his eyes grew moist. No one but he knew the hardships Heavenly Sword Peak had endured all these years. Their allocated resources were constantly held back, and they had nowhere to turn when trouble arose. He had trod carefully every step of the way to lead Heavenly Sword Peak to where it was today. Rest easy, Supreme Elder. By a stroke of fortune, I have recently found 2 disciples with exceptional aptitude. Once they are fully trained, they will bear the heavy burden of Heavenly Sword Peak and help us restore our former glory. Qingyun was pleasantly surprised. Truly, take me to see them. I want to judge just how good their aptitude is for myself. They noticed a large group of disciples gathered in front of a rock garden some distance away. Liu Qingxian checked the time, saw that the mealtime had already passed and cultivation sessions should have begun, and his face darkened. He barked, "Why are you all loitering here instead of cultivating when the hour has come?" The disciples scattered like startled birds. Only then did Liu Qingxian notice that through a gap in the rock formations, he could see a combat arena not far away where 2 people were sparring. Qingyun also spotted it, and his curiosity was piqued. "Oh, a spar between disciples of the peak. Let's go take a look." Worried that they would startle the group, the 2 of them did not reveal their presence. They stood behind the rock formations, observing through the gap unseen. When he saw the 2 people on the arena, Liu Qingxian's expression turned odd. "Why is Fang Chen there?" Qingyun asked. "Who is Fang Chen?" Liu Qingxian sighed. "He is the husband of the 2 female disciples standing off to the side, and a new disciple under sect master Liu's tutelage." Qingyun was surprised. Then his aptitude must be exceptional, right? Liu Qingxian only won the position of sect master by a narrow margin back then, and he has been under constant threat from Fang Chen all these years. He would spare no effort to train his disciples, and anyone even slightly lacking in aptitude would never catch his eye. Liu Qingxian let out a bitter laugh and cupped his hands in salute. "With all due respect, Supreme Elder, you are correct that the sect master has been constantly pushed around by the Great Elder all these years, and all his other disciples are elites. But this Fang Chen is an exception. He is a disciple with no spiritual roots." Qingyun stared blankly, bewildered. "No spiritual roots, are you certain?" Liu Qingxian would have to be out of his mind to take a disciple with no spiritual roots. Liu Qingxian replied, "Though I also cannot fathom why the sect master took him as a disciple, he truly has no spiritual roots. This was verified both by the aptitude testing tower and my own personal inspection. There is no mistake." Now, even Qingyun was confused. He pointed at Yunjuo. "Is that young man from our peak?" Liu Qingxian's face held a hint of pride. "Yes, he is one of my most prized disciples, already at the 7th layer of the Foundation establishment realm." Qingyun sized him up for a moment and nodded slowly. To reach the 7th layer of Foundation establishment at his age is truly impressive. He is a fine talent, but why would Fang Chen, a man with no spiritual roots, be sparring with him? Liu Qingxian also wore a baffled expression. "I don't understand this either. From what I have observed of him, he is no fool. Why would he spar with Yunjuo when that is nothing short of asking for suffering?" After a moment of thought, Liu Qingxian said, "I shall go stop them. Though this boy Fang Chen has little prospect on the martial path, he has always treated my 2 female disciples exceedingly well, and is humble and courteous to boot. There is no need to stand idly by and watch him get hurt." Just as he was about to reveal himself, the 2 parties on the combat arena had already begun to exchange blows. A cold sneer tugged at Yunjuo's lips. "In recognition of the courage it took for you to step onto this stage, I will let you have the first 3 moves." As he spoke, surging spiritual power poured forth from his body, coiling around his surroundings. His formidable cultivation at the 7th layer of the Foundation establishment realm formed a dense spiritual barrier. Against opponents of insufficient strength, he could stand perfectly still, and they would not be able to shake him even a little. Fang Chen's face remained impassive as he spoke coolly. "You would do far better to attack with all your strength." Yunjuo threw his head back and laughed loudly. "Use my full strength against you? Are you looking down on me, or are you merely trying to flatter your own ego? Even if I let you have 10 or 100 moves, you would not be able to harm me in—" The slightest, letting you have only 3 moves, already makes me seem petty and narrow-minded. With that said, Fang Chen shook his head and replied, very well. Then you had best hope your bones are hard enough to withstand what comes next. The moment his words fell, he did not even call upon his spiritual power and lunged toward Nai Yunjuo like a shooting star. Relying solely on his tyrannical physical prowess, he unleashed the first form of the high-tier mystic rank body cultivation, technique *, 9 heavens battle forms *, mountain shatter. As the first of the 9 forms, its base power was the lowest, but when paired with his copper skin and iron bones, the explosive force it generated was incomparably ferocious. Boom, with a single punch, the spiritual barrier surrounding Nai Yunjuo, scattered like wispy smoke, shattered on the spot. The fist drove straight for its target, slamming brutally into Nai Yunjuo's abdomen. Ugh. The sudden, brutal strike caught Nai Yunjuo completely off guard before he could even react, and the blow landed squarely. The searing pain sent his stomach churning violently, his body curling up like a shrimp as he retched repeatedly, spewing out large amounts of foul, undigested matter. This sight left every onlooker stunned dumbfounded. Chen Xiling's beautiful eyes went wide as she tugged on Liu Ruxu's sleeve. Ruxu, am I seeing things? Fang Chen didn't even use spiritual power, and he already injured Nai Yunjuo. Liu Ruxu was also equally shocked, but when she recalled Fang Chen's previous bountiful beast hunting gains, realization dawned on her. No wonder little Chen is so formidable. He has cultivated a powerful body refinement technique. Standing not far away, Nai Yunxi, who had been staring closely at Fang Chen the entire time, terrified that the reckless Nai Yunjuo would gravely injure him, also had her eyes wide with shock. She could barely believe what she was seeing, that Fang Chen possessed such a devastatingly powerful body technique. Behind the rockery, Qingyun's face was filled with astonishment. Good heavens, no wonder this boy dared to challenge someone at the 7th layer of the Foundation establishment realm. He has hidden such an exceptional body refinement technique. To have cultivated a body technique to this extent, he would be considered a rare genius even in the giant sect. He glanced sideways at Li Qingfeng, words on the tip of his tongue, but left unspoken. Li Qingfeng, on the other hand, wore a face full of guilt, a tinge of deep regret in his heart. I never noticed that he was such a promising talent for body refinement. If I had known earlier, I would have taken him as my disciple. Qingyun sighed, forget it. Our peak does not specialize in teaching body refinement techniques. Even if you took him as a disciple, it would be like hiding a luminous pearl beneath dust. Go call a stop to this duel. This boy's body refinement technique did not come easily. Do not let him perish at the hands of your disciple. Li Qingfeng hurriedly replied, yes. Even though Fang Chen's body technique was astonishing, no one present believed that he could truly stand toe-to-toe with Nai Yunjuo. The previous strike was merely Nai Yunjuo being caught off guard. Once he recovered his senses, Fang Chen would be in for a world of pain. Sure enough, Nai Yunjuo wiped the foul vomit from his lips, his face twisted with fury, clearly consumed by shame and rage. He had intended to humiliate Fang Chen, only to be injured by him instead. Nai Yunjuo pointed at Fang Chen, about to roar angrily at him, but remembered that he had been the one to boast he would let Fang Chen have the first 3 moves, and was left speechless for a moment. Fang Chen spoke coolly. I told you to attack with full force. If you keep holding back, I will not show you any mercy either. Nai Yunjuo laughed in a fit of rage. You merely took a tiny advantage when I was caught off guard. Do you truly think you are that powerful? I will let you see exactly what the strength of the 7th layer of the Foundation establishment realm is capable of. He held nothing back any longer, spiritual power surging out wildly, opening with a mid-tier mystic rank palm technique, falling goose palm. Fang Chen also held nothing back, unleashing the 2nd form of the 9 heavens battle forms, Cloud Burst. Boom, a dull thud rang out, and the 2 attacks were evenly matched. This left Nai Yunjuo greatly shocked. How is this possible? His full-powered attack had actually been easily caught by Fang Chen. Nai Yunxi's pupils shrank to pinpricks in shock. Even when my younger brother is going all out, he cannot gain the upper hand over him. How can this be? Outside the rockery, Li Qingfeng, who had been about to step forward to stop the duel, froze on the spot as if he had seen a ghost. Qingyun's old eyes also went wide. Impossible. This boy's body technique is this strong. Relying solely on body refinement, he can go toe-to-toe with a 7th layer Foundation establishment realm cultivator. There are barely any disciples in the giant sect that can match this feat. He glanced at Li Qingfeng once more, and this time he could not help but criticize. You really did let a once-in-a-lifetime talent slip right under your nose. Li Qingfeng's face flushed with embarrassment, his regret growing even deeper. He had been too careless and failed to check if Fang Chen had any talent in the path of body refinement. On the arena, Nai Yunjuo's heart was filled with shock. The scene he had imagined of completely crushing Fang Chen, stepping on his head and humiliating him fiercely, was clearly not going to be as easy to achieve as he thought. He went all out, unleashing the mystic rank palm technique, heaven-rending palm. Fang Chen also continued to unleash his moves, each strike more ferocious than the last. Cloud Splitter, Thunder Blast, Wind Shatter, all coming in rapid succession. In contrast, Nai Yunjuo only knew 3 moves of his palm technique. Facing the ever-strengthening Fang Chen, he screamed internally that this was impossible, but reality was cruel. Fang Chen unleashed the 8th form, slamming it squarely into his chest, PFFT. The violent palm power instantly wounded his internal organs, sending him flying backwards while coughing up mouthfuls of blood. The spar came to an end. Fang Chen stood unmoving in his place, and the entire area fell dead silent, with only the distant chirping of birds breaking the heavy quiet. Nai Yunxi's mind went completely blank. Her own younger brother, a heaven's favored genius at the 7th layer of the Foundation establishment realm, had actually lost to Fang Chen, who possessed no spiritual root. Was she dreaming? Liu Ruxu and Chen Siling's eyes were sparkling with adoration, their faces brimming with pride. This was their man. He either remained silent or stunned the world with a single feat. Behind the rockery, Liu Qingxian was reeling in disbelief. He completely crushed my disciple. Nai Yunjuo is my prized pupil, a long-standing senior disciple of the sect, while Fang Chen is nothing but a newly recruited outer disciple. Yet the battle was a one-sided rout. For a moment, I cannot even tell which of Fang Chen and Nai Yunjuo is the senior disciple, and which is the fresh recruit who just entered the sect. Shi Kaishan was stunned. Damn it, that brat Liu Wenchen looks so honest on the surface, but he's crafty to the core. I was wondering why he would take a disciple with no spiritual root. Turns out he already found out that even without a spiritual root, this kid is a peerless body refinement prodigy, so he took him in quietly without fanfare. Liu Qingfeng also suddenly came to a realization and could not help complaining, what a brilliant trick to deceive the heavens. If we hadn't discovered this by accident today, we would all have been fooled by him. He stared at Fang Chen, thoroughly displeased. Why hadn't this brat mentioned he had such talent back then? How could he have left him unattended in the square all that time? I'll call him over to question him. Just then, a change occurred on the combat arena. Fang Chen looked indifferently at Nai Yunjuo, who had collapsed to the ground, vomiting blood, and said, "Out of respect for the fact that you cultivate on the same peak as my 2 wives, I will spare you today. I hope you know your place and stop pestering them." With that, he walked towards Liu Ruxu and Chen, siling with his hands behind his back. Nai Yunjuo was consumed by overwhelming humiliation. He had tried to teach Fang Chen a lesson, only to be humiliated himself. How could this stand? A vicious glint flashed in his eyes, and while Fang Chen's back was turned, he suddenly leaped up, striking at his back with a palm as he roared ferociously, "Die." Fang Chen had long been on guard against him. His gaze turned icy, and he held nothing back. As he turned, he unleashed the ultimate strike of the *9 Heavens Battle Art * Heaven Splitter. *crack, no deafening crash rang out when fist met palm. With Fang Chen's body arts operating at full power, the spiritual energy surging from Nai Yunjuo's palm was instantly dispersed. An incomparably domineering force slammed into his palm, rushed up his arm, and crushed every bone in his arm to smithereens, emitting a continuous sound like dry firewood snapping one after another. Nai Yunjuo crashed heavily to the ground. The agony of his broken bones soon hit, tearing a pig-like shriek from his throat. My arm. His face was deathly pale, his features twisted with pain as he rolled back and forth on the ground. Everything happened far too quickly for Nai Yunxi to intervene. She rushed over, her heart twisting with agony at the sight of her brother's miserable state. She raised her head sharply and snapped. "How could you strike so viciously?" Fang Chen's face remained impassive. "Your brother attacked me by surprise first." "Are you selectively blind, pretending you didn't see that?" Nai Yunxi ground her teeth, left with no retort. While Fang Chen was indeed ruthless and unforgiving, her brother had failed in a sneak attack and been injured in turn. There was no way to argue their case on any grounds. But Nai Yunjuo refused to let the matter rest. Clutching his broken arm, he roared ferociously, "Sis, rip his arms off too, both of them. Or I'll kill myself." Nai Yunxi soothed him. "Yunjuo, stop this. Go get your wounds treated first. I don't care." Nai Yunjuo howled, "If you don't help me, I'll bash my head against the wall and let the Nai clan have no air." He made as if to ram his head into the nearby stone pier. Nai Yunxi doted on her brother and had no choice but to grit her teeth. She glared fiercely at Fang Chen and snapped, "Even if my brother was in the wrong, your strike was far too severe." I have no choice but to teach you a lesson, so you learn to measure your actions. She abruptly unleashed her terrifying aura at the 8th layer of the Foundation establishment realm. Behind the rockery, Qingyun's face was filled with astonishment. This brat has been holding back this entire time. Liu Qingxian truly has an exceptional eye for talent. I'm almost impressed by how he managed to pick this kid out. He then turned his gaze to Nai Yunjuo, his eyes narrowing slightly. His talent is indeed quite good, but his temperament is deeply worrying. Li Qingfeng's face had long turned ashen. A loss was just a loss. There was no shame in his disciple losing. But launching a sneak attack from behind, striking a fatal blow at a vital point like the back. That was a disgrace to him, a disgrace to the entire Heavenly Sword Peak, especially since they were in front of the Grand Elder. I'll lock him in seclusion for 3 years later, forbid him from stepping out of the cultivation chamber even once, Li Qingfeng snarled. Qingyun nodded slightly. By his usual temperament, a disciple like Nai Yunjuo would have long been kicked out of the sect, given no chance to reflect in seclusion at all. But Heavenly Sword Peak had far fewer talented disciples now than in its glory days, so they had to reform whoever they could. Glancing at the overbearing Nai Yunxi, he waved his hand and said, "Make this female disciple reflect for a few days too. She has no shame at all. Her brother failed a sneak attack and got injured, yet she has the audacity to step in and pick a fight." Li Qingfeng was thoroughly embarrassed by the siblings' actions and walked over with an irritated expression. Suddenly, Qingyun called out to him sharply, his old eyes fixed intently on the figure on the combat arena. "Fang Chen, you said he has no spiritual root." Li Qingfeng glanced over and noticed that spiritual energy also surrounded Fang Chen's body. He said dismissively, "It's just a realm boost gained from overdrawn potential, nothing more." Overdrawn potential? Qingyun was stunned, his face filled with confusion. He decided to observe the situation a little longer before stepping forward. On the combat arena, Nai Yunxi opened with half a set of high-grade mystic rank finger techniques, Cloud Shuttle Finger. She refused to believe that Fang Chen's body arts were so heaven, defying that they could even withstand a single strike from someone at the 8th layer of the Foundation establishment realm. To Nai Yunxi's shock, Fang Chen did not use his body arts again. Instead, spiritual energy coiled around his body as he unleashed a strange palm technique, Startled Dragon, as he roared forward with both fists.